Evelyn Reed, a meticulous and driven digital marketing manager, found her rhythm in the pulsating heart of Seattle. At 32, she exuded a quiet competence, her days at Veridian Digital, a burgeoning agency nestled in a brickhand beam building overlooking Puget Sound, filled with the intricate dance of algorithms and compelling narratives. Her mornings were a ritual. The insistent beep of her alarm at 6:30 a.m., followed by the rich, earthy aroma of single-origin coffee brewing in her AeroPress. From her sun-drenched, albeit compact, Capitol Hill apartment, she'd embark on a brisk walk, the city waking around her. The air, perpetually damp with the promise of rain, felt invigorating against her cheeks as she passed vibrant street art, the scent of espresso and artisanal pastries wafting from bustling cafes, before descending into the efficient hum of the light rail. She thrived on Seattle's unique blend of urban sophistication and natural grandeur. The way the Olympic Mountains would sometimes pierce through a cloud-laden sky, a majestic backdrop to her ambition. She loved the feeling of purpose, of creating something tangible from abstract data, a sense of control and clarity that permeated her professional life. Yet, the true warmth in her life, the incandescent glow that colored her every thought, emanated from Marcus Thorne. Marcus, 34, a real estate agent whose charm was as legendary as his sharp suits, had swept her off her feet 3 years prior. They'd met at a casual summer barbecue on a friend's rooftop deck, the city lights twinkling below like scattered diamonds. His laughter, deep and resonant, had instantly drawn her in, and his easy confidence, coupled with a surprising sensitivity he attributed to his Pisces nature, solidified their connection. He wasn't just handsome. He was an attentive listener, a thoughtful planner, and a fervent supporter of her dreams. He remembered small details, surprised her with her favorite obscure indie band tickets, and always knew how to make her feel cherished. He was her anchor, her rock, a steady hand guiding their shared journey towards a blissful future. Their shared life felt like a carefully woven tapestry of aspirations. Engaged for nearly a year, the radiant sparkle of the diamond solitaire on her left hand was a constant, tangible reminder of their impending union. They were deep into the exhilarating, sometimes exhausting, process of house hunting. Their hearts were set on a charming craftsman in Madison Valley, a quiet, leafy neighborhood Evelyn adored. They envisioned a life there, a small garden overflowing with lavender and hydrangeas, laughter echoing through sunlit rooms, friends gathered around a reclaimed wood dining table. Every decision, every detail, was a joint effort, or so Evelyn believed with every fiber of her being. She dreamt of waking up to the smell of fresh coffee and Marcus's easy smile, of building a home filled with love and shared memories. Financially, they were also building a solid foundation. Evelyn had meticulously saved for years, her disciplined approach to finances allowing her to accumulate a substantial sum. She'd contributed nearly $120,000, a combination of her savings and a small inheritance from her beloved grandmother, into their joint savings account, earmarked specifically for their future home's down payment. Marcus, while more prone to spontaneous indulgences, had shown her impressive spreadsheets, detailing how he would match her contribution with commissions from his next big sale, ensuring their shared future was secure. He spoke convincingly of joint investments, of building an empire together. Evelyn trusted him implicitly. He was her partner, her confidant, her future. He was, in her eyes, everything she had ever dreamed of. Their evenings were often consumed by the minutiae of wedding planning, scrolling through Pinterest boards for floral arrangements, debating menu choices, agonizing over guest lists for their planned late-summer 2019 ceremony. Evelyn had already found her dress, an exquisite off-white lace gown that made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. Save the dates had been dispatched, their joyous announcement echoing through her social circle. Her life, a carefully constructed edifice of love, ambition, and shared dreams, felt complete. The world was her oyster, and Marcus, with his gentle soul and unwavering promise, was the pearl she had found. The thought of their wedding day, of walking down the aisle towards him, filled her with an almost unbearable lightness. The first crack appeared not with a thunderclap, but with a quiet, insidious whisper. It was a Tuesday evening in early April, a dreary Seattle drizzle mirroring the sudden chill in Evelyn's heart. Marcus had been distant for weeks, attributing it to stress from a particularly demanding client and long hours scouting properties. Evelyn, ever understanding, had tried to give him space, offering supportive words and home-cooked meals he barely touched. But that evening, as they sat across from each other at their usual sushi spot in Belltown, his usually vibrant eyes held a hollow, almost desperate quality. He toyed with a piece of ginger, avoiding her gaze, his silence deafening. "Evelyn," he began, his voice uncharacteristically flat, "we need to talk." Her stomach tightened. She'd heard that phrase before, in movies, in stories of impending doom, never directed at her. A cold premonition, unwelcome and unsettling, slithered into her thoughts. He delivered the blow with a practiced detachment that felt crueler than any shout. I can't do this. The wedding, the house, us." He paused, looking away, avoiding her gaze. "It's too much. I'm not ready for this kind of commitment. I thought I was, but I'm just not." Evelyn felt the air leave her lungs. Her carefully constructed world tilted on its axis. "What are you talking about, Marcus? We're getting married in 4 months. We just looked at that craftsman last weekend." Her voice, usually steady, trembled with disbelief. It was as if he was describing someone else's life, not theirs. He sighed, running a hand through his perfectly coiffed hair. "I'm sorry, Ev. I've been trying to tell you, trying to make myself feel it, but my heart's just not in it anymore. I need space. I need to figure things out. Alone." He ended it there, over lukewarm sake and untouched salmon nigiri. He packed a small bag that night, claiming he needed to stay at a friend's. He promised to discuss the logistics of their shared finances and the apartment in a few days. Evelyn, stunned and heartbroken, watched him go, a gaping wound where her future used to be. The click of the lock as he left echoed like a final, definitive period on their story. The real betrayal, however, was yet to unfurl its venomous coils. For a week, Evelyn drifted through her days in a fog of tears and confusion. Her friends rallied around her, offering comfort, but no one could explain Marcus's sudden, cold transformation. Then, a chance encounter shattered her fragile peace. At a coffee shop near her office, she bumped into Chloe, an old college friend who worked in commercial real estate. "Evelyn, I heard about Marcus," Chloe said, her face a mixture of sympathy and awkwardness. "Are you okay? I mean, I guess it's good you found out before he moved into that stunning new penthouse. You dodging a bullet there." Evelyn frowned, a cold dread seeping into her bones. "Penthouse? What are you talking about, Chloe?" The words hung in the air, sharp and unyielding. Chloe's eyes widened. "Oh my God, you don't know. He just closed on that incredible unit in the austere, over in South Lake Union. Top floor, insane views. Everyone in the industry is talking about it. Apparently, he paid cash, no mortgage. Must have been one hell of a commission." The words hit Evelyn like a physical blow. The Austere was one of Seattle's most exclusive, expensive residential buildings. A cash purchase? Her mind raced to their joint account, the one filled with her inheritance, their shared dreams. A sickening lurch in her gut confirmed her worst fears. She rushed home, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She logged into their online banking portal. Her blood ran cold. The balance, once a healthy 6 figures, was now barely enough to cover a week's groceries. The transaction history showed a single, massive outflow just days before Marcus had broken off their engagement. A wire transfer for the exact amount of her contribution, listed as Investment Thorn Properties LLC. Thorn Properties LLC, a shell company Marcus had vaguely mentioned, always assuring her it was for their future. He hadn't just broken her heart, he had stolen her future. He had systematically, meticulously, drained her life savings, using her money to buy himself a bachelor pad while casting her aside. The Pisces partner who played innocent had orchestrated a meticulously planned financial heist, cloaked in a veil of emotional detachment. He hadn't had cold feet, he had cold, calculating hands. The public humiliation soon followed. Within days, photos of Marcus, beaming, arm in arm with a striking, much younger woman, circulated on social media. She was introduced as Gabriella, an aspiring model and his new business partner. The caption on one photo read, "Celebrating new beginnings and exciting ventures." The image, a stark contrast to Evelyn's tear-stained face, solidified his narrative. Evelyn was the jilted ex, a clinging, overly emotional woman whose demands had driven him away. He had rewritten their history, painted himself as the victim of a relationship that just wasn't working, all while living it up with her money. Evelyn felt not just betrayed, but completely stripped bare. Her dignity, her financial security, her very sense of self all had been ruthlessly plundered. The world, once vibrant and full of promise, now felt muted, tainted. Evelyn retreated into her Capitol Hill apartment, the same space she'd once envisioned sharing with Marcus, now a cruel monument to her shattered dreams. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by her ragged breaths and the incessant thrumming of her own despair. Days blurred into a haze of unwashed hair, oversized sweatpants, and a diet consisting solely of takeout coffee and dry toast. Sleep offered no escape, only fragmented nightmares where Marcus's charming smile morphed into a predatory smirk, and his gentle reassurances echoed as hollow mockery. Each dawn brought with it a fresh wave of agony, a reminder of the chasm that had opened in her life. Her phone, once a lifeline to her vibrant social circle, became a source of dread. Every text, every call felt like an intrusion, a reminder of the life she'd lost. Friends, concerned and bewildered, left voicemails filled with tentative questions and offers of comfort. "Evelyn, are you okay? We're so worried. Let's get dinner, we miss you." But she couldn't bring herself to answer. The shame was a suffocating blanket, heavier than any grief. How could she explain the depth of his treachery, the meticulous way he had plundered her future? How could she admit she had been so utterly, irrevocably fooled? The humiliation was a physical ache, pressing down on her chest, stealing her breath. Anger, when it finally pierced through the fog of sadness, was a searing, purifying flame. It ignited slowly, fueled by every memory of his lies, every stolen dollar, every public slight. She saw the photos of him and Gabriella, their smiles blindingly bright, plastered across her Instagram feed, shared by well-meaning but oblivious acquaintances. He was living her dream with her money, with another woman. The injustice of it was a bitter, metallic taste in her mouth. It was a betrayal so profound, it went beyond the personal, attacking her very right to a secure future. She tried to confront him. It was a futile attempt born of desperation. She called, texted, emailed, each message growing more frantic, more accusatory. His responses were glacial, dismissive. "Evelyn, this is unhealthy. You need to move on. I've already explained, the funds were used for a business venture. You were aware of Thorn Properties LLC. He completely sidestepped the fact that she had been led to believe she was part of that venture, that it was their future. His gaslighting was masterful, twisting her valid pain into a portrait of irrational obsession. He even blocked her number after a particularly heated exchange, sealing her out of his carefully constructed new reality. The finality of the blocked number felt like a punch to the gut, severing the last thread of connection, however toxic. In a fit of desperate resolve, Evelyn made an appointment with a lawyer. Sarah Jenkins, a no-nonsense litigator known for her sharp mind and even sharper tongue, listened patiently as Evelyn recounted the story, her voice cracking with suppressed rage and humiliation. Sarah, a woman in her late 40s with shrewd, intelligent eyes, took copious notes, asking incisive questions. "This is complicated, Evelyn," Sarah had said, her tone serious. "Joint accounts, especially when funds are transferred to an LLC that appears to be solely in his name, can be tricky. We'll need irrefutable proof of his fraudulent intent, not just a breach of promise." Did you have any written agreements about the purpose of these funds beyond the house purchase? Emails? Texts? Evelyn's heart sank. She had trusted him. They had discussed everything verbally, or through casual texts and emails that felt more like lovers' banter than formal agreements. She remembered the spreadsheets he'd shown her, but those were likely just mock-ups, easily disavowed. The legal battle, Sarah explained, would be protracted, expensive, and emotionally draining. Her chances, Sarah cautiously admitted, were not a sure thing. Marcus, with his charisma and a network of wealthy clients, would undoubtedly present himself as a victim of a vengeful ex, and his narrative, polished and plausible, would be a formidable opponent. The prospect of facing him in court, unarmed with solid evidence, felt like signing her own defeat. Walking out of Sarah Jenkins' office, the Seattle rain felt colder, heavier. The glimmer of hope she had held onto, the possibility of a swift, righteous victory, seemed to dim. She was alone, financially devastated, emotionally shattered, and facing an uphill battle against a man who had not only stolen her money, but had meticulously engineered her public humiliation. The weight of it all was crushing. Evelyn returned to her apartment, not with the fire of anger, but with the hollow ache of defeat settling deep in her bones. The dreams of Madison Valley, of a garden and laughter, felt like phantoms, mocking her naivete from the shadows of her despair. The city outside, once a source of inspiration, now felt indifferent, its bustling energy a painful contrast to her internal desolation. The hollow ache lingered for days, threatening to consume Evelyn entirely. Yet beneath the layers of despair, a quiet fury began to smolder, a stubborn ember refusing to be extinguished. Sarah Jenkins' words echoed in her mind, irrefutable proof of his fraudulent intent, emails, texts. Evelyn had dismissed them initially, believing her informal exchanges with Marcus held little legal weight. But as she sat staring at the blank wall of her living room, memories began to surface, details she'd subconsciously filed away, details Marcus, in his arrogance, had surely forgotten. A tiny spark of defiance flickered to life in the darkness. Evelyn was, by nature, a digital archivist. In her professional life, meticulous record-keeping was paramount. Client communications, campaign analytics, every snippet of information was stored, categorized, backed up. This habit, bordering on an obsession for efficiency, had seeped into her personal life. She never deleted old messages. Her Google Drive was a digital vault, her old phones meticulously backed up to external hard drives before being retired. It wasn't a conscious plan for revenge. It was simply Evelyn being Evelyn. It was a quiet testament to her organized mind, a trait Marcus had once found endearing, now her potential salvation. She started small, searching her primary email account. There were the initial communications about their joint account, the enthusiastic messages from Marcus about our future house fund, his promises to match her contribution. There were also emails detailing the specifications of the Madison Valley craftsman they'd nearly put an offer on, complete with his excited comments about our backyard and our renovation ideas. These were not casual remarks. They were explicit declarations of shared intent. Each email was a painful reminder of shattered dreams, yet also a powerful piece of a puzzle slowly coming together. Then she moved to her text messages. This was where the real treasure trove lay. Marcus, ever the smooth talker, had often used texts to sweet-talk her, to make promises, to paint vivid pictures of their future. He had a habit of over-communicating via text, sometimes when he was too busy to call, sometimes when he wanted to make sure Evelyn felt reassured about their financial plans. He'd sent her screenshots of speculative investment returns, promising they were for our joint portfolio. More damning, she found a series of exchanges where he explicitly instructed her to wire funds from her personal savings into the joint account, reassuring her it was, for the down payment on the house we pick, babe, for us. He'd even attached a rudimentary, but official-looking, document outlining Thorne and Reed property acquisitions. A document that clearly detailed her intended ownership stake in the LLC he was setting up. He'd probably cobbled it together quickly to placate her, never imagining she'd keep it. The sheer volume of these messages was staggering, a digital testament to his relentless manipulation. The most crucial piece, the texts he forgot, came from an old phone she'd upgraded from 6 months prior. Instead of wiping it, she'd simply transferred her data to her new device and tucked the old one into a drawer. She retrieved it, charged it, and scrolled through months of conversations. There, nestled amongst everyday banter and declarations of love, were a series of messages from Marcus, sent to her after the Thorne Properties LLC was ostensibly formed, but before he drained their joint account. In these messages, he discussed the Madison Valley house, his excitement about their future, and even reassured her about the safety of their shared funds. He spoke of the LLC as a vehicle for their joint investments, a shared enterprise. The sheer volume and consistency of these messages painted a damning picture of premeditated fraud. He hadn't just broken a promise, he had actively, consistently misled her, using her funds under false pretenses. He had likely deleted these messages from his own phone, believing them gone forever, or simply not realizing the sheer evidentiary weight of her complete archive. His oversight, born of arrogance, would be his undoing. Evelyn worked tirelessly. Her apartment became a war room. She meticulously cataloged every email, every text message, every shared document. She learned how to extract metadata from her old phone to prove the authenticity and timestamps of the messages. She created a forensic timeline, cross-referencing bank statements with specific conversations, building an undeniable narrative of his deception. The tears still came, but now they were tears of grim determination, not despair. Her digital marketing skills, her innate ability to organize vast amounts of information into a compelling story, transformed her from a victim into a strategist. Each piece of evidence meticulously sorted felt like a small victory, a reclaiming of her narrative. She scheduled another meeting with Sarah Jenkins, this time walking in with a stack of meticulously organized binders, each tabbed and cross-referenced. Sarah's expression, initially skeptical, slowly shifted to one of impressed surprise as Evelyn laid out her evidence. The attorney flipped through the binders, her eyes scanning the printouts of texts, the metadata reports, the old Thorne and Reed property acquisitions document. "Evelyn," Sarah said, a slow smile spreading across her face, "this changes everything. This isn't just a breach of promise. This is a clear case of fraud. Marcus Thorne has committed perjury, and we can prove malicious intent. He truly underestimated you." The words were a balm to Evelyn's wounded soul. The fight was still ahead, but now she had an army of evidence, a digital paper trail Marcus had thought long buried. The Pisces partner had played innocent, but Evelyn, with her meticulous memory and her digital archives, was ready to expose the truth. Her quiet strength, her hidden advantage, was about to shatter his carefully constructed facade. A cold, hard resolve settled in her heart. Justice, not revenge, became her singular, burning focus. The King County Superior Courtroom on James Street felt impossibly sterile, the air thick with the unspoken tension of legal battle. Evelyn, dressed in a sharp navy suit, her hair pulled back into a severe but elegant ponytail, sat beside Sarah Jenkins. Across the aisle, Marcus Thorne exuded an air of practiced nonchalance, his expensive suit perfectly tailored, his smile confident as he exchanged pleasantries with his own legal team. He'd clearly underestimated Evelyn, believing her to be a fragile, heartbroken woman who would eventually give up. His eyes met hers once, briefly, and she saw a flicker of something she couldn't quite decipher: pity, arrogance. She held his gaze, her own unwavering, a quiet resolve burning within her. She was no longer the naive woman he had discarded. She was a force to be reckoned with, armed with truth. The initial days of the trial followed a predictable rhythm. Marcus's lawyer painted Evelyn as a jilted, irrational ex-fiancé, consumed by bitterness and attempting to extort money from an innocent, successful businessman. Marcus himself took the stand, his testimony smooth, plausible, and utterly devoid of remorse. He spoke of the unfortunate breakdown of a relationship, of mutually agreed upon contributions to a joint account for general living expenses, and of Thorn Properties LLC as a separate, personal investment vehicle that Evelyn was never intended to be part of. He looked directly at the judge, maintaining an air of earnest sincerity, his Pisces charm working its magic on the stoic courtroom. He denied any specific promises regarding the house or her specific financial stake in the LLC, claiming any such discussions were aspirational and not legally binding. He was a master of narrative control, twisting reality with every carefully chosen word. Then came Evelyn's turn. She testified calmly, factually, her voice clear despite the tremor in her heart. She recounted their history, their plans, the moment of discovery. Her composure was a stark contrast to the emotional wreck Marcus's lawyer tried to portray. Sarah Jenkins, with her incisive questioning, methodically built Evelyn's case, chipping away at Marcus's carefully constructed narrative. The turning point arrived with the introduction of Exhibit A, Reed Thorn Digital Communications, Volume 1. Sarah approached the bench, a slim tablet in hand, connected to the courtroom's display monitors. "Your Honor," she addressed the elderly, white-haired Judge Miller, known for his no-nonsense approach, "we would like to present a series of text messages, emails, and digital documents exchanged between Miss Reed and Mr. Thorn, spanning the period prior to and including the alleged fraudulent transfer of funds." On the large screens, the courtroom watched as the first text message appeared. Marcus, from November 2018, reading, "Just wired your inheritance into our joint account, babe. This is it. Our future house fund is officially taking shape. So excited for Madison Valley?" Followed by a screenshot of the bank transfer confirmation. The messages continued, a chronological betrayal. There were texts from Marcus explicitly discussing our down payment for specific properties, even one where he shared a photo of a craftsman interior, stating, "Can you imagine us here, Evelyn? Our first home together. The $120,000 from our fund will secure it." Then came the clincher. Text from Marcus, dated just days before he broke off the engagement, still discussing our joint investments in Thorn Properties LLC, even sending her a copy of the Thorn and Reed property acquisitions document he'd sent her. An informal but explicit agreement outlining her ownership stake in the LLC. He'd clearly forgotten he ever sent it, or believed it would be lost in the digital ether. The screen displayed the document, her name clearly visible as a co-owner, dated and time-stamped, complete with his digital signature. A collective gasp rippled through the gallery as the irrefutable evidence materialized. Judge Miller leaned forward, his expression hardening with each scrolling message. The air in the courtroom crackled. Marcus, for the first time, looked genuinely rattled. His confident smile faltered, replaced by a pale, strained expression. He fidgeted, his eyes darting between the screen and Evelyn, a dawning horror in their depths. The gaslighting, the polished lies, were unraveling before everyone's eyes. His face, once so charming, was now a mask of frantic desperation. Sarah Jenkins' voice cut through the silence. "These communications, Your Honor, demonstrate a clear pattern of premeditation and fraudulent misrepresentation." Mr. Thorn repeatedly assured Miss Reed that her substantial financial contribution was for their joint future, for a shared home, and for an LLC in which she would have an ownership stake. He then systematically, and without warning, drained those funds for his sole benefit, establishing a lavish lifestyle while simultaneously casting Miss Reed aside and publicly humiliating her. The truth, undeniable and devastating, hung heavy in the air. The judge cleared his throat, his gaze fixed on Marcus. "Mr. Thorn, do you have any explanation for these texts, these documents, which directly contradict your sworn testimony?" Marcus stammered, his carefully constructed composure crumbling. "Your Honor, I don't recall sending some of these, or they were taken out of context. The document was a draft, merely an idea, not legally binding." His voice was thin, reedy, stripped of its former charm. He tried to backtrack, but his words were hollow, lacking any conviction. Judge Miller's eyes narrowed. These texts are authenticated, Mr. Thorne. The metadata confirms their origin and timestamps. They paint a very different picture of your intentions than the one you presented to this court. His voice, low and resonant, carried the weight of authority and finality. The verdict, delivered a week later, was swift and decisive. Judge Miller ruled overwhelmingly in Evelyn's favor. Marcus Thorne was ordered to repay Evelyn the full $120,000, plus interest, and an additional $50,000 in punitive damages for emotional distress and fraudulent misrepresentation. The judge also ordered a review of Marcus's real estate license, citing ethical misconduct and perjury. The luxury penthouse he'd so arrogantly purchased with Evelyn's money would likely have to be sold to cover his newfound debts. News of the verdict spread like wildfire through their social circles and the local real estate community. Marcus's reputation was in tatters, his charm now seen as a mask for deceit. His lucrative client base began to evaporate. Gabriella, his new business partner, was conspicuously absent from his side in the subsequent headlines. Evelyn, standing outside the courthouse, felt a strange mix of emotions. There was no triumphant glee, no overwhelming joy. Just a profound sense of weary relief and a quiet, undeniable satisfaction that justice, finally, had been served. The weight of betrayal had lifted. She looked up at the Seattle skyline, the familiar mist clinging to the skyscrapers. The future was unwritten, but it was hers again. No longer defined by his lies or her pain, but by her own resilience, her meticulous mind, and a newfound strength. The phoenix had risen, not from ashes, but from a meticulously archived digital footprint. A quiet, resolute smile touched her lips, a promise of a future built on solid ground, forged by her own unwavering spirit.